One of the tricks kitchen designers use, especially, well, kitchen designers that are restricted to using standard ranges, one of the tricks they need to do is to cope with situations where the dimensions involved don't conveniently allow a solution such as the one that we came up with just here. And I can get rid of that guideline now. Maybe I'll put the walls back. One of the things they quite like to do, and I think you'll need to watch out for this if you're having your kitchen designed by somebody else. If that hadn't worked out so well, what they would have done is they would have got an end panel. This isn't part of the design. I just want to show you what I mean. They would have got an end panel, which they're normally sort of 18 to 20 millimeters thick, and just draw a rectangle here. Pull it out by 18. Right. And this unit, we'll just put it on the other, the copy on the other side, just for a moment. And just imagine the run of units is continuing on down. Now you'll often see this in kitchens. This divider panel, it goes all the way to the ground. And its only purpose is to create a dirt trap here. Pretty tricky to mop out an area like that, and to give dogs something to chew on. They like things like that, which will stay nice and still while they chew them. And its only function really is to add an extra 18 or 20 millimeters to the length of the kitchen units that have been chosen, just to make the sizes work out. So you'll often find them used in quite random places. Maybe they'll put one there, maybe one here, one there. And it's really just being done in an effort to make the sizes work out. Anyways, I just thought I would show you that, because it's one of my pet hates, that sort of thing. End panel at the actual end, fair enough, but it used in between units, that's a total no-no as far as I'm concerned. Right, put the party wall back, and I'm now going to go back to the previous design, because I've shown you some of the tricks that you need to use if you're working with standard spacing, standard size units. And this is but on the other side, I'm going to use what I would call free sizing. In other words, what you can get if you were making the units yourself, or you were dealing with some firm like my own, where they make the units to the actual size required. So let's go back to we'll save that one, and I'll go back to the previous design. There we are. Put the wall back. I think that just looks so much better myself, but matter of opinion. By the way, I wouldn't obviously normally have a unit coming straight up to a cooker like that. There'd obviously be a little gap there. The worktop would go pretty much up to the edge, but I'd probably leave at least a 5 millimeter gap there. But we're only talking about kitchen design at this stage. We're not really worrying about too much about little things like that. This will be taken care of later. This is just how to use SketchUp to get a nice design. Now, various things that you're always going to find in a kitchen. There's always going to be a cooker. Obviously, it's not going to be a kitchen if it isn't a cooker. Sometimes it'll be a built-in one, but in this case it's a range. There'll want to be a sink, and ideally a dishwasher, and usually some refrigeration as well. Now, the refrigeration in this case, these clients have got one of these American-style side-by-side fridge freezers, and it's actually over here, and that's not part of the kitchen design, so I'm not bothering to model it. Now, we've got a corner here, so corners are always a a little bit tricky. I like to use magic corners, and we'll model one, and you'll see what I mean by that. Magic corner is one where it appears to be a normal unit. You pull the door open, and there's a couple of baskets behind it, wire baskets, and as you continue to pull it open, so the door swings around to the side, and the two other baskets, which are normally right in the corner, are brought into view and within reach. Perhaps when I edit the video, I'll insert a picture of one so you know what on earth I'm talking about. Placement of sink unit. The tradition is to put the sink unit in front of a window, and do that, and unless you've got a really good reason not to. For instance, you simply don't have an accessible window, then always put the sink in front of the window. Even if you're not bothered either way, if it's your house, eventually you might want to sell it, and the people who buy it might like to have the sink in front of the window. Even if the view isn't very inspiring, it's nice to have the light. It just brightens everything up a bit. So ideally, we want the middle of the sink in the middle of the window. So I'm just going to find the middle of the window here. Put a guideline there. Perhaps I'll copy this guideline. You can copy or put guidelines across right angles like this. Notice how this is SketchUp inferring that that's where I wanted to place that guideline. I could actually get rid of this one now if I wanted to. Sink unit, in this case, the clients are having an undermount sink. The fitters are going to machine a recess into the wooden worktop, and they have an undermount sink under that. And the sink itself, this will be designed to fit into a 600 unit. So I'm going to put a 600 unit there, and let's actually do that, and we'll see how it looks. I think I probably need to put my, let's find that center line again, and this will do very nicely for my drawer unit, sorry, for my sink unit. Take the window wall off, and I want to place this unit. I'm going to grab hold of it by the midpoint there, bring it down here, slide it into position. There we are. Now I can get rid of the guidelines, and now I can see what I've got left. Let's see now, the space here, 607, and the space here, 116.75. Perhaps if I'm just to get rid of that 0.5 business, I know that this one is, let's move this along by 7.5 millimeters. And now that space now, I noticed because I've got my select tool and I clicked, and it's actually selected the floor. If you see something select like this and you don't want it selected, one way of, you can either click on something like that, just click on empty space, or if it's selected and there's no convenient empty space, you can press Ctrl and T, and then it'll deselect. So this space now should be 600 wide, as it is. That would be handy for a washing machine or something, if we were going to have a washing machine. These clients are fortunate enough to have a utility room for all that stuff, so what we do want to do is we want to fit a bin unit, and bin unit's very handy in the kitchen. Obviously you're always producing rubbish, so it's going to be food waste, it's going to be recycling stuff, and it's nice to have somewhere to keep cleaning materials, bin bags, all that sort of thing. And I do actually make a variety of bin units specifically for this purpose. Let's see what the space is on the other side. 1175. Now, I need to put some units, there's going to be units going along this side as well. So Let's draw something in, because obviously the unit I'm going to place here can't go, well, it can go all the way into the corner, but not only you're going to see what will be visible. So I'm starting to ramble there. They're having a dishwasher close to the corner, so I'm going to draw that dishwasher in, and I make that 600 by 600, and it's not actually 875 high, but I'm going to pull it up to that height anyway, and then make it into a group. I cheated there. I've just pressed G. Here's a good point. If you press G, you'll get make a component dialog. We don't want to use components at this stage. So what I did, in fact, I rarely use components. It's not appropriate to what I do. In the preferences menu, there's a tab for shortcuts, and what I did was edit make group. What I did was I entered G into there, then I pressed plus and it assigned it to G. So every time I press G now, if I've got some a group of objects, sorry, a group of entities selected and press G, then they'll be made into a group. Now this dishwasher, this corners are a little bit tricky. Let me take the floor off. Corners are a little bit tricky, and I'll show you what the problem is. Let's just move this dishwasher along a little bit. You have to have just as you have a filler in where units go against a wall, you need to have a corner post to serve the same function, and it needs to work in on both ways. It needs to be in effect a 50mm filler on that leg and a 50mm filler on that leg. So I'm going to draw one in, so you can see what on earth it is I'm talking about. Now I'm having all these units. We're assuming that 590 deep. I mean 565, 570 is customary for a base unit in depth, and the door is going to add another 20 or so. So I'm assuming 590 for the moment. I know that perhaps I'll draw a guideline out, 590, and another one out from this wall. And that's where the internal corner of my corner post is going to be. So I'm just going to quickly draw one here, and 50, oops, 50 that way. Material is probably going to be 20mm thick. You needn't take too much notice of this. 50, enter, and 20mm. Then I want to line it up with this one. I'm looking to make an L-shaped object here. Good. And now I can pull this down by 720, which is the height of the actual units themselves, not including the plinth, because I don't want the corner to go right down to the floor. Let's draw that. Make a group. So now we've got something to work off now. So I hope you followed that. What I'm doing is I'm made a corner post and I've placed it so that the face of the corner, this face of the corner post is in line with the face of the units this way, and this way it's in line with the face of the units that way. In fact, I know I said I made this dishwasher 600 by 600, but I'm actually going to make it 590 deep. Just because it's probably actually shallower than that, so 590 would be much better, and you'll more easily see what I'm trying to do. Good. Now in this case, this dishwasher is not an integrated dishwasher. It's not meant to look like one of the cabinets. It's a freestanding dishwasher, and it's going to be placed into a 600mm space. Normally I'd allow a little bit more space than that, but these clients may well wish to have an integrated dishwasher at some point in the future. So I'm going the dishwasher, it'll be tight, but it will fit into a 600 space. So I'm going to move this along until it's touching that unit there. Sorry, it's touching that corner post. There's my dishwasher. You just have to imagine it. We'll colour this in so that you know that it's, we're going to use that rough metal. That'll be our sort of way of just make it a little bit darker and make it a little bit more obvious it's not a unit. And I'll get rid of my guidelines again. Now, what's the space we've got here now? It's T for tape measure, 535. Now this is good because 535, I can make magic corner fronts anywhere between about 440 up to about 600. So 535 will fit in very nicely to that. So normally my magic corners, they actually have a little drawer at the top as well. I say a little drawer, it's actually quite a decent sized drawer. So we'll borrow this cabinet. We won't borrow it, we'll use a copy of it. Press Control. As you see, it's 600 and we only want it to be 535, so I'm going to select it, open it rather, move it along, and 535 from 600 leaves 65, along 65. Good. Now actually, if I take the worktops off, the magic corner itself will actually be, I'm going to modify this unit so you can see how I do the magic corners. And what did I say? 535, I want it to be 900, so it's already 535. Let's use my calculator. 900 minus 535, so I want to pull it along by 365. Excellent. It's always handy to have a void in the corner, small void, because many, especially in modern houses, there's very often a soil pipe. The bathroom's usually above the kitchen, and there's quite often a soil pipe in boxwork coming down in that corner. So having a void there. If you are using standard units, then you might choose to use an L-shaped unit, possibly with a carousel in it. Hate them myself, but you know, it's matter of taste. And unless they've cut the back corner off it, you'll have to find another solution. But any basic corner unit will do this. And using the L-shaped design, sorry, not the L-shaped design, but using a design like this, we have one unit going into the corner and another unit coming away on the other leg. It does allow you, if the walls aren't perfectly at right angles, it does allow you to fiddle with the angle a little bit. If you use an L-shaped unit, which is 90 degrees, then you are a little bit stuck if your walls are slightly out. Base units are nearly finished. I'm going to make a change to this dishwasher. I think what I'm going to do is I'll put usually find dishwashers they don't actually have a plinth as such, but quite often there'll be a, looks like that's a 150. The bottom would be set back a little bit, and just make it look a little bit more realistic. I just push that in, say 20mm. It doesn't really matter. I mean, they're using the dishwasher they've got, so it's just try and make the drawing a little bit more realistic. When we come to doing the plinth boards, by the way, there won't be joins like this in the plinths. This is just to represent the plinth. Plinth boards will actually be continuous, so there won't be any lines showing. There'll also be a little return in there just to fill up that gap. So we need something. Let's put the worktop back on. Now we need something here, and we won't want the unit to come right to the end of the worktop. I don't know why I've got this odd number there. It's not quite right. Never mind. That is often find this when you're modelling in SketchUp, something will go slightly wrong. I probably moved that without noticing. So I'm just going to fix this. Whenever you see an odd number, it nearly always means something isn't a straight line, or it's got shifted somehow. I'm going to put a guideline there and redo that. So now that worktop is being corrected and it's 30 millimeters from that edge. Now let's see how much space we've got here for another unit. 615. Now I'm going to want to have an end panel on this. We won't want to see the actual side of the unit. So I'm going to put an end panel in. I shall set that in about 20 millimeters. The end panel itself will be 20 millimeters thick. So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. It'll be 590 by 20. And, pull it down by 720. Make a group. So now I know that the space I've got here is 575. I think I'm going to put, if this happens, I've probably ended up inside a wall or something. Just press the Z key. It'll zoom out to fill the frame, and you'll generally be able to see where you are. So I'm going to get one of these units, one of these pan draw units. I'll leave a copy there. And I think I said that I wanted it to be 575 wide. Yeah, okay, well let's make it the right size first. Currently this is 845. I want it to be 575. The guideline in at 575. Select the right hand side, get hold of a corner, move it along till it hits the guideline, and now I've got a unit which is 575. It's obviously it's the wrong way around. Excuse me, and have to turn it. I was saying earlier about the rotate tool. It will tend to, whatever face you tend to put it on, it'll line up with that. So I want it to work vertically. So hold the shift key on that corner, swing it around by 90, check the box, the dimension box showing me an angle of 90, which means that that's correct. And I will take off the utility wall and grab hold of that corner, move it next to the dishwasher, and that's the unit. Now if I'm making a unit to go at the end of a run, I'll always inset the plinth somewhat, and so I'll do that on this. Again, this is only a representation, this is not how it's actually done in practice, but we'll move that in about another, let's give it say 30 or so. And then when I put the wall back, you'll be able to see that looks so much better than having the end panel come all the way to the ground. And it's surprising how often people actually stand at the end of runs. Somebody's just come in, they've plonked something down on the worktop, they're quite likely to stand there, and that'll give somewhere for their toes to go. Also, I do the plinths in black, so that any little gaps, corners, that sort of thing, will be very difficult to see because of the black shadow. So I just need to draw in a bin unit for the finish off the base units. I borrow one of these. Control. Now, what happened there was I picked it up by the wrong point. I didn't have anything. I could have. I'm going to do that again. This time I'm going to grab hold of something, press Control while I'm still in motion, and grab hold of something more convenient, because I'm looking to grab hold of it by somewhere that's going to line up with something that's there already. To make this a bit shorter, you can use the move tool. It's perfectly possible to model one thing inside another in SketchUp. Now the bin unit actually is actually two quite large drawers. The top drawer is larger than the small one, and then the bottom one, I mean. So we're going to modify this and take off this thing here. I'll take off, perhaps I'll undo all this, erase it all, and so I was saying earlier about the tendency for the offset tool to sort of freeze at whatever position you bring it in at. Push that in by 7mm. Get rid of this line. And that's pretty much what one of my bin units look like. Actually, I think this dimension, I'm not sure of that. I'd have to go back to the workshop to check that. Anyway, here we have a pretty decent representation of what the kitchen's going to look like.